Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Agnidro Raja Triptah Kamanang Apsarasam Evanudinang Adhimanyamanastasya Salokatam Shrutibhir Avarundha Yatra Pitaro Madayante. Translation. After Purvachiti's departure, King Agnidra, his lusty desires not at all satisfied, always thought of her. Therefore, in accordance with the Vedic injunctions, the king, after his death, was promoted to the same planet as his celestial wife. That planet, which is called Pitriloka, is where the Pitas, the forefathers, live in great delight. Purport. If one always thinks of something, he certainly gets a related body after death. Maharaj Agnidra was always thinking of Pitriloka, the place where his wife had returned. Therefore, after his death, he achieved the same planet, probably to live with her again. Bhagavad Gita also says, Yang yang vapi smaran bhavam tyadyantye kalevaram tang tam evaite kauntaya sadatad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. We can naturally conclude that if we always think of Krishna or become fully Krishna conscious, we can be promoted to the planet of Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna eternally lives. The first sentence of the purport by Srila Prabhupada is as follows. If one always thinks of something, he certainly gets a related body after death. That is the general rule. It may not be that immediately, it may not be in every case that immediately one gets a related body. There may be exceptions to that. I was just thinking of the example of Nriga Maharaj. He didn't think of a lizard all of his life, but he became a lizard. He was thinking of how to get a heavenly existence, but due to some mistake, not really of his own doing, he had to get a hellish existence. So he wasn't in hellish consciousness. He was always very anxious to serve brahmanas, to be very pious. He was in heavenly consciousness, but the ways of nature are unpredictable. So that is there, that one will get a related body after death, but it may not be immediately. The general case is there. And Srila Prabhupada, he takes the example of Agnidra and relates how, just as Agnidra was always thinking of his wife, if we always think of Krishna in the same way, just as Agnidra went to join his wife in the next life, we can go and join Krishna. Agnidra is no doubt a very pious person, comes in the pious family. He's not a demon, but his contribution to history, or he's remembered for his lusty attachment to a beautiful woman, which isn't uncommon. In fact, it's the most common thing in the world. But among all his pious activities, which he no doubt performed, he's remembered for this. Shukadev Goswami is relating about him, and we understand what Shukadev Goswami's perspective on all of this is, because the very first words of Shukadev to Parikshit was condemning the situation of attached householders. Apashyatam atmatatvam griheshu grihamedhinam. Attached householders, Shukadev said in his first words to Parikshit, do not see the reality of the self. Because why? What are they doing? Nidraya hriyate naktam vyavayena chavavayaha. They spend their nights in sleeping or sex indulgence, and the daytime in working hard to maintain their situation. So they're bewildered about the actual purpose of life. So Agnidra was undoubtedly a pious person, but from the perspective of Shukadev Goswami, he was just in Maya. That's all. His attention was to the wrong purpose. Now we find in Bhagavatam a description of all different kinds of people. We find in the 7th canto the famous description of Prahlad and Hiranyakashipu. Hare Krishna. They are just at the opposite end of the spectrum. Prahlad is a Mahabhagavato Mahan. He's described as great even among Mahabhagavatas. A Bhagavata is a great person. Within this world, who is a devotee is a great person. Then Mahabhagavat. That it means a very great devotee. And Prahlad is described as Mahabhagavato Mahan. And he described Hiranyakashipu as Asurya Varya, the very emblem or the best of all. If you really want to know what a demon is, Hiranyakashipu, you made it. You're the demon of the year, every year. Until one day he punched a pillar, and he didn't think he really didn't predict that what would happen did happen. That's because he's a demon, he doesn't believe in God. So they're both at the extremes, very extreme people. Prahlad was extremely Krishna conscious, and Hiranyakashipu was extremely non-Krishna conscious, as Prahlad explained to Hiranyakashipu, Matyena Krishna paratasvato va mitho pipadyeta grihavratanam. That grihavrata comes again. Adanta gobhir vishatang tamisram punaf punas charavita charavananam. Classic description of Prahlad Maharaj, of the persons who have decided, made a very strong vow that whatever else I may do in this life and in future lives, I'm not going to be Krishna conscious. I may theorize philosophically, but I'm never going to accept Krishna. And others may try to convince me, but I am not going to be convinced, because I want to enjoy my senses. And if I have to go to hell for doing so, very good. There's no happiness in material life. Anyway, let us chew the chewed. So this is the outlook of persons who are not Krishna conscious. Agnidra is a pious person, but basically the same defect as the demons. He wants to enjoy the material world. Enjoy the material world means to, Sri Aishvarya Prajepsava, to enjoy women, wealth, family, descendants. So it's the same disease, the very powerful attraction, sexual attraction, very powerful. Why should we not be attracted to Krishna? Krishna is all attractive. Let's think about this now. We're all here, those who are listening to this class, because we want to be Krishna conscious. You've all risen early this morning and gone to Mangalarti, I hope. I wasn't in Mangalarti. I was on a train, so I have a good excuse. Excuse? We don't want to make excuses. We don't want to miss Mangalarti. Anyway, our lives are dedicated for being Krishna conscious. And every day we chant the Maha Mantra, we use our beads, we hear about Krishna. But why is it then that Krishna is all attractive? But despite all our endeavors to be Krishna conscious, we're not spontaneously attracted to Krishna. So we have another attraction, very strong attraction, to seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, feeling, and thinking about other attractions. And particularly this narration of Agnidra describes the sexual attraction. So powerful. It seems real. Seems that it should be something very nice. Even the demigods, great demigods, they are bewildered by that. In the 4th canto of Bhagavatam, it's described how Agni Dev, at one sacrifice, of course he's present in all fire sacrifices, as the person who takes the offerings and offers them to Vishnu. By offering in the fire, then it's not just that you throw some ghee or grain in the fire and it just burned up, but it's understood that Agni conveys that to Vishnu, or maybe to some demigod, but anyway, ultimately the enjoyer of the sacrifice is Vishnu. So Agni is there, the most sacred function is described. There's one, no, actually that's in the purport, but how the wives of the, it's stated, Shuki, that word is given. So at one other sacrifice, all the great rishis were present, and Agni became attracted to their wives. Instead of thinking, I'm here to serve Krishna and take the sacred duty of taking the offerings to Vishnu, he became attracted to the wives. And then his own wife, Swaha, took the form of the different demigods' wives and enjoyed with him. So how is that possible? We see that even pujaris, they may be engaged in this, they may be offering the arati, and one godbrother of mine told me many years ago that he would regularly be offering arati, but there was this young girl who would come and look at him while he was offering the arati, and he was standing right in front of Krishna, but he couldn't think of Krishna. because he was thinking of that young girl. So what is the power that attracts us away from Krishna? And we may end up, well, we could go to a heavenly planet to enjoy the Apsaras, or if we make some mistake like Nriga Maharaj, who was thinking I can go and join the Apsaras in the heavenly planets, we might end up like a lizard in a well, with no guarantee that Krishna will come and deliver us, as he did with Nriga Maharaj. So it's something we should ponder very seriously. Vyasadeva has put such narrations within the Bhagavatam. Within the Bhagavatam itself, we have many warnings. Pungsastriyo mithuni bhavametam tayaraho hridaya granthamahu ato griha kshetra sutapta vitaya janasya moho yamahammameti. What is the source of this I, me and mine illusion by which people live their whole lives? They make wars, my country against your country. Yesterday was Republic Day, Mera Bharat Mahan. Tera Pakistan kya? What's the opposite of Mahan? Tuche. So, still afraid of their atomic bombs. So, me and my country, my wife, my religion. Hum Hindu hai, ghar se kaho. Hum Hindu hai. We hate Muslims. Or my family, my brother, my property. Where does this come from? The root of this is sexual attraction. And the root of that is forgetting Krishna. Krishna bhuli se jivanadi bahirmukha tev maya tare daya samsara dukha. Forgetting Krishna. From time immemorial, we are inimical to Krishna. And Maya gives us so many troubles. So, Srimad Bhagavatam, if you like, you can say, the critics will say, Vivekananda said, that Vaishnavism is a sex religion. So that is true. But actually everything in the world is just for sexual attraction, that's all. If there was no sexual attraction, there'd be no Mumbai. Why would anyone bother to build a big city? If there was no sexual attraction, people they just live in some house somewhere and whatever food they could get. But Stri means from whom there is vistar, making everything bigger. Then Ato, Griha, Kshetra, Sutapta, Vitaya, then home, property, Stri Aishvarya Prajipsavaha, opulence, family, dynasty, all these things are required. So this is the nature of illusion, very strong attraction. So the Bhagavatam also describes this. And intelligent persons will analyze and see the fact. What is the fact? That's already given in Bhagavad Gita. Yehi sangsparshaja bhoga dukha yonya evate adyanta vanta kontayana teshu ramate buddha. Intelligent persons can see, Krishna says, that sensual attraction at every stage, in the beginning, the middle and the end, It is simply a cause of distress, and therefore intelligent people do not take part in it. So it seems paradoxical, because it seems that, well, why don't we enjoy? What's the problem there? Srila Prabhupada once quoted some song, Bengali song, must have been some, I never heard it, only from Prabhupada. That one line is, Chok jodi lage bhalo keno dekhbo na. Any Bengalis here? Must be some Bengalis. They can understand. If we like to see it, then why should we not look and see it? Why should we not look? Brahmacharis are supposed to keep their eyes under control. Lakshman is famous. He's here. It's narrated that he would never look above the feet of Janaki. He would serve Ram and Janaki day and night. Of course, he was married also, but he was observing brahmacharya. So he would never look above the feet of Janaki out of respect. And brahmacharis in traditional society, they're supposed to be very careful what they do with their eyes. The eyes are not supposed to go here and there. And what to speak in modern society. So one should keep one's eyes averted from, particularly from the form of women. In Islamic culture, that's a big issue now in some parts of the Western world. First of all, women don't go out, and then if they do go out, they'll be covered in such a way that they cannot be seen. And actually Prabhupada, it seems, he approved of that. There's one purport where he says his mother, even if she had to go to the next house, should be carried in a palanquin covered with curtains so she couldn't be seen. So the whole idea is, don't inflame that sexual attraction. Then why not? If it's pleasurable, then why should we not indulge? An intelligent person will see that this is a cause of distress. Seems like it's pleasurable, but actually it's a cause of distress. The pleasure of sexual attraction or of any material enjoyment that Prahlad Maharaj again says, that is Shruti Sukh. Shruti here doesn't mean Ved Shastra. It literally means that which is heard. In other words, everyone says, oh, that's good, that's nice, that should be fun. The whole advertising industry works on this basis. They make you hear, yes, this is good. Pepsi Cola, very good. No one has any need for Pepsi Cola whatsoever. There would be no loss to the world whatsoever if Pepsi Cola ceased to exist from now. But they've made a huge business, and why discriminate? Coca-Cola also. All over the world, you could probably fall out of your spacecraft and land in the middle of the Sahara Desert and find a shop selling Coca-Cola. Everywhere, they've made a huge business all over the world just by suggesting that there is happiness there. Although actually there's no happiness whatsoever. So everything in the material world is like that. It's just, there's an unspoken culture among everyone in the world that this is what we need to do to be happy. We have to enjoy our senses. But the actual fact is, we have to suffer. Immediate suffering. If there's sexual activity, well, first of all, in civilized society, people marry and then they indulge in sex. Among people who are like animals, they don't marry. But then there may be so many problems that the relatives of the girl will harass you, or she will come and say, hey, I've got a baby, you better do something about it. And if you don't maintain the baby, then you get sinful reactions. Anyway, you get sinful reactions for sexual life outside of marriage. Or you may say, she may come and say, I'm pregnant, here, take 100 rupees, whatever it costs. I don't know exactly how much. Go get an abortion. So that becomes very sinful. Or if one does in the responsible way, marriage, then you have to earn money, look after the children, one after another, which takes up all one's attention, is a source of great anxiety, especially in the modern age. In the modern advanced age, everyone is in anxiety, how to get money. Although previously, there wasn't any anxiety. People didn't have money, then there wasn't any anxiety. Most people didn't have money. There was no need of any money. You have a little land, you grow some food, and a barber will shave people, and then the local people will give them a bag of rice every so often and some. There was no need, there was no anxiety. Everyone is anxious how to get money. And the very act for which one has to suffer, the sexual act, it's shruti sukh. It is advertised as being enjoyable, but actually it's not as enjoyable as we might think. As one devotee just told me, he was very anxious to get married because itching sensation. So he married and then he indulged his, you know what I'm talking about? Kondutiva manasijang vishaheta dira. Itching sensation means the sexual attraction is like an itching sensation. So then he married and he said, well, it's not that good anyway. Too late. Now you're stuck. Now you have to see it through. So this is a basic point for anyone who wants to become spiritually advanced. Krishna, we're not so much talking about spiritually advanced, but how can we attain Krishna? But this very basic point we should understand, that we are tied up in this world by maithuna agara, the chain of sexual attraction, holding us all back. Seems very difficult to overcome, but we have to overcome that by the grace of Krishna and the devotees, if we are going to go to Krishna. We can talk of Radha, Krishna, Leela. That is our ultimate goal. But it's not so easy to go there. And for one who is cultivating material desires, it's impossible. So this point should be understood. We may think, well, why talk about all this? We already understood it. That's why we're here. Well, we are discussing that section of the Bhagavatam where, so you're already in the 5th canto, and still these topics are being discussed. In the 9th canto, we'll find also a very similar description of Who is that? Yayati and Purvachiti. Not Purvachiti. Devayani and Sharmishta, Devayaya, these things are going on. So we should think about that, because if we don't think how to overcome all these material desires, then we will be overcome by material desires. So let us, as Prabhupada concludes this purport, we can naturally conclude that if we always think of Krishna or become fully Krishna conscious, we can be promoted to the planet of Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna eternally lives. So let that be our aim, to be promoted to Krishna Loka by always thinking of Krishna. Make that culture whereby we can always think of Krishna. That requires very, very strong consciousness. Not generally, a sadhu is thought of someone very peaceful, very mild. But a pure devotee is like Prahlad, a very extreme person. He can say to his father, "No, what you're saying to me is all nonsense." Very extreme person, not a mild person. This idea that a devotee is all, or sadhu should always be very mild and just smile at everyone, this is actually coming from Mayavadis, Buddhists. But devotees are extreme. They're extremely attached to Krishna, and although they're not unnecessarily impolite, but they just don't mix with non-devotees. That's a major principle of Vaishnavism. Don't mix with non-devotees. So devotees, according to material estimation, are very strange people. We have a whole different way of thinking. Whatever the materialists think is good, we don't think is good. Whatever they think is bad, we don't think is bad. So this consciousness, fully absorbed in Krishna, one cannot be a normal person by materialistic estimation. Shukadev Goswami, he certainly wasn't an ordinary person. I don't know, we should follow in the footsteps of the great acharyas and not imitate them. No walking around naked. Shukadev Goswami went naked. But see the determination. See his determination. He was so strict, he even thought Vyasadeva was in Maya. He thought this atmosphere at home, of course, at that time he was like a Brahmavadi who's detached from everything. But Parikshit also, immediately he got the message that he is to die, then immediately just gave up everything. Just very quickly wrapped everything up, turned over everything to the ministers and gone. No coming back. Now I have to concentrate on Krishna. So this, of course, there may be devotees also who are living in society in a very responsible way. As preachers in the modern world, we can't imitate Shukadev Goswami and go around naked. But our intention is extreme, and that is to come out of this material world. We have nothing to relate to in this material world. Everything in this material world is a row of zeros, unless we put the one in front, which is Krishna. So this understanding, that even Agnidra, very pious king, and not an unusual person in that he was very attached to his wife. But from Shukadev's perspective, not very laudable. He spoiled his human life. Instead of thinking about Krishna, he thought about his wife. So this danger is there. Let us think of Krishna. That is the message implied here. Don't be carried away by material attraction. It's very strong, it's very powerful. It looks as if it should be good, it looks as if it should be enjoyable, but it's not. It's a trap which keeps us in this material world, in the world of birth, death, old age and disease, and keeps us away from Krishna. So, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, Adi, Avishta, Eshab na chare kishe pabe Radha Krishna. As long as we don't give up lust, greed, anger and the rest, then how is it possible that we shall attain to Radha and Krishna? Hare Krishna. Any questions, please? Okay, the mic has to come, the remote mic, whatever it's called.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In this class. For this part of the Bhagavatam, it gives a perfect example of the difference between proper Grihastha life, which Priyabhadra Maharaj was living, and the Grihastha life which Agnidra was living. And we can see the difference in the result. And the cause, it seems that it was because Priyabhadra Maharaj was trained up as a brahmachari by Narada Maharaj, given really nice brahmachari training. So even though he was also enjoying so much with his wife and had so many children, when the time came to give it up, he was able to give it up so easily. Because he had a beautiful wife.
Yeah. So easily, I don't know if it's ever easy.
But at least
he was able to do it, yeah.
Whereas Agnidra, he wasn't, because he wasn't trained in properly brahmacharya.
Right, yeah.
So we in ISKCON, we also need to have proper Grihastha life, because how are we going to, if everyone's brahmachari and sannyasi, then we're not going to be able to propagate Krishna conscious children to infuse the next generation with very powerful preachers. Because if we can see that the ISKCON youth that have grown up in ISKCON, they're actually very powerful. You see people like Gauravani and others like him. They're very actually just extremely powerful individuals. They're actually trained up properly. So we need to, like, the structure in our society, not only like strong, we need to have like strong brahmacharis. Everybody needs to like follow like brahmacharis.
Yeah. And we need good grihastas also.
Yeah.
And we'll have good grihastas if they listen to classes like the one I just gave. If we say, grihastas, yes, it's all very nice, but we don't underline this point, then they're in danger of following Agnidra. We need to hear these things. I need to hear these things. No one's telling me, so I'm speaking myself.
Priyabhadra Maharaj, he entered Grihastha life as a duty, because Lord Brahma asked him to. So we should, when we're trained up in proper brahmacharya, then we can enter Grihastha life as a duty to propagate Krishna conscious children.
Yeah. Although, generally I'd say to brahmacharis, unless someone's pushing you like Lord Brahma is, you let someone else take up that duty. There are plenty others who are ready to take up that duty.
Yeah, but then they won't.
Anyway, all right.
Live proper Grihastha life.
I don't want to. This wasn't meant to be a brahmachari versus grihastha class. I was speaking on some. It wasn't meant to condemn grihasthas. You're already too old for that anyway. You don't worry about all that. Now you should think of going to Krishna. You don't worry about grihastha life now. It will go on. You don't worry. There'll be plenty of grihasthas. You don't have to preach to people to become grihasthas. There'll always be plenty.
Yeah, but we need to structure proper grihastha.
That's true, but that's really...
That's what Varnashram means.
That's true, but that's nothing to do with what I was speaking about in the class.
Yeah, but this is
It's a completely...
very important point.
It is, but there are many other important points also. I was making the point that Punsastriya mituni bhavametam tayaraho hridaya grantimahu. That's true for everyone, in whichever ashram they may be. It wasn't a condemnation of Grihastha ashram or some fanatical plea that no one should get married. If you thought I was saying that?
No, I wasn't thinking that at all. I'm just adding a different angle.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
There's another question.
We are not supposed to develop attachment with family members. But if all the family members are practicing Vaishnava, then is it correct to develop attachment with them?
We should be attached to Vaishnavas, but we shouldn't be attached to family members. So if we're attached to family members as Vaishnavas, that is very good. If we're attached to people only because they're our family members, then that is material. If we're attached to devotees because they're devotees, then that's spiritual. In a family, a man may think he's been given special responsibility to look after these Vaishnavas in particular.
Krishna Maharaj, it is said if one doesn't go back to order in this life, in the next life he starts over. Doesn't start over, rather he resumes his bhakti from wherever he left in the previous life.
Yeah, Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita. The fate of actually speaks about the fallen yogi. He takes up from where he left off in the previous life.
So the question is, if one doesn't go back to order in this life, in the next life, when he has to, that person, the devotee has to struggle for reaching his consciousness up to that level, or it will come automatically?
Struggle will be there. In the material world, there's always struggle. It's unavoidable.
So what if...
It's best not to think how I will do 50-50 and take up in the next life. Let's have the best of both worlds. It's better don't think how I can make my insurance policy have a good time now and carry on later. Better don't think. Better think how to get out of here this time. Instead of making plans, what I'll do when I come back. We're over time, or what's the time limit? Brajahari? Okay, if you say I can take more questions, I can. I have another 2 hours before I...
Maharaj, actually, he was not devotee.
Doesn't seem to be... He must have been somewhat of a devotee, in as much as every Hindu... I guess you could call him a pre-Hindu Hindu. So, in as much as every Hindu is a devotee of some sort, but not really, no.
This can be applied to our devotees in his case. I think this part of Bhagavatam is just it is showing to us how karma kanda is a little bit dangerous.
Not little bit dangerous. So one more question, then we'll finish. The mic is...
So Maharaj, about advertisement,
Kunti Maharani separates.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So they are family members.
I was thinking to quote that also. Thank you for quoting it.
No, means why? Why she wants to cut down his relationship?
Well, the same point is that, of course, she's a pure devotee, but she's thinking that my attachment to them is on the bodily, material platform. That's all. She wants her attraction to be only for Krishna.
Another mistake is the Rusya in the Vedanta. Although the Rusya he had no experience about this sex life.
Yeah.
But in course of time, when he attached, but how he able to give up this association by his father's mercy or
How he was able to give up?
yes.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
Means family life, how he detached from family life.
You mean after he got married?
Yeah.
I'm not aware. I don't remember the story. I only remember how he got entangled. But how can anyone get disentangled? That's by the mercy of the devotees. How one can get disentangled from material attraction.
Guru's mercy is required.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Mercy and one's own endeavor. Daivihi esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya me tam tarantite. Maya is much stronger than us. Krishna is much stronger than Maya. So shall I finish now? All right. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.